Okay, moving on to our Let's Talk topic. Another topic that's been bothered us is the issue of the Petroleum Products Pricing Regulatory Agency, that's the PPPRA, have removed the price of petrol, giving marketers the freedom to fix the price of commodity and sell above the price. Now, what this means is that there's a new development. Marketers now have the freedom to fix the price of commodity. No, actually, that's the old one.
That's the old one.
There's a revised one now, actually, based on today's papers, that they've reversed it such that they're saying that the marketers don't have the freedom to choose the prices. However, they are going to be the ones to regulate such that they will guide it and still determine it. However, the marketers still can then play. But it's still a bit confusing. Because one second you're saying marketers decide. The next second you're saying, no, we are the one that's still going to have the power. Then we're going to speak to a guest joining us now. He's a partner and a head tax, oil and gas KPMG Advisory Services, Mr. WALE Ajayi. Good morning, Mr. WALE. Are you there?
Hi, I'm here. Good morning.
Thanks for joining us today. So let's get right into it. This limbo that PPPRA have put us in between Friday and today, saying one second they're telling us that marketers have the freedom to determine the prices. Now we're getting the papers this morning that that's been reversed. In your view, which is the best option, especially given the fact that Nigerians have been clamoring for complete removal of subsidy?
Thank you so much for that question. First, let's try first to understand what has happened, and then I can then respond to your question directly. What happened was that in March, the PPRA Executive Secretary released a regulation that basically said that the cap for petroleum, for PMS, which is what we call petrol in Nigeria, has been removed. However, there is a caveat in that regulation that says that PPRA will still have the right to guide and to prescribe what the price will be, and that the marketers and the NNPC have to abide by that. So that is the cause of the confusion. What only happened was that that regulation was only released last week to the general public. So nothing really has changed. What we're seeing is still going to be some sort of a price modulation, whereby PPRA will advise marketers on a monthly basis what the price would be, and the marketers will have to abide by that price. So nothing has really changed.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, the best thing is for us to deregulate the price of petrol. We've deregulated aviation price, aviation fuel price, we've deregulated kerosene price. Nothing has happened. So the best thing for us is to deregulate. And if we do that, what then happens is that we're going to be able to remove the subsidy that has been in the system for such a long time. And obviously, that will go a long way, to improving investment in that sector. I mean, currently, if you look at the way petrol is priced or any petroleum product is priced, the major cost component is the cost of crude oil. Currently, today, the price of crude oil is about $40, right? And it's about 70% of the cost of that people pay for at the pump price. And so when you look at it critically, that constitutes about 70% of the price. And what that means is that when you take in all the other factors like refining cost, like transportation cost, what that means is that the price of petrol per liter should not actually be more than 80 naira per liter. So what has happened now is that rather than government subsidizing the price of petrol, actually is the consumers that are subsidizing government, because the price is much lower than the recommended retail price of 121 naira 50 kobo.
Okay, so let's take, for instance, what happens I know diesel is different from the petrol we're talking about now. And when I get into the filling station, I buy in some places lower than in other places. And so far, we've not had issues of we don't have diesel at some point, or marketers are closing the shops and saying go home, or we are increasing the prices. So you buy where you can really afford, depending on the area. Shouldn't that be what we are looking at when it comes to the price of petrol? By allowing the market forces to determine the prices, at some point it will balance and we won't have to pay so much for it.
You're right. That has been the clamor of so many people. The only way we can improve investment and also improve the supply of petrol is for the price to be deregulated. Like you rightly said, I mean, diesel is not regulated, so people can always buy diesel at any time. there's been no issue of shortage of diesel. But in Nigeria, because we have regulated the price of petrol, that is the reason why there is smuggling. Because when you look at our neighboring countries, the price at which they pay for petrol is much higher than Nigeria. So it does make sense for Nigerians to take the petrol imported into Nigeria to those places and sell at a higher price. Now, when you look at what the government did with the border closure, right, what that has done is that it has shown us that the daily consumption of petrol that used to be in the range of about 70 million liters per day is now about 40 million. So what that means is that 30 million liters are being sold outside of Nigeria. So if we do not deregulate the price of petrol, we continue to experience shortages, we continue to experience a situation where people are not investing, and we continue to experience a situation where people are smuggling. So the best option available for government today is to deregulate, especially when the price of crude oil is much lower than what it was last year in 2019, when it was an average of $60 per barrel.
Right.
So obviously, we've said the same thing on the show for many years, the importance of deregulation, but we know that there are beneficiaries from the subsidy system. Many people are benefiting from it, and for as long as there are beneficiaries can lobby their way to get what they want, would remain in this quagmire. What do you think the government should do to appease those who are benefiting from subsidy, to let this thing go? How can we address them? Because if we ignore and think we can just by caveat just say, no, this is off, because we see the turnaround. Just from between Friday and today, we have two things from the same company, from the same PPPRA agency. What can the government do to appeal to those that are already benefiting from subsidy? One. Number two, how can we avoid putting the burden on the citizens? Because right now, indeed, if we go there, it might drop the price. But if the price goes up, it will go up. So what can we do long-term to avoid the burden on the citizens? And people are saying, let's wait for Dangote refinery and all of us will be happy. Would that not put too much power in one person with the monopoly system to give us any price? Plenty questions, but I know you can answer.
Okay, thank you so much for those questions. I'll try to answer the three questions that you've asked me. I think the very first question you asked is, what can the government do? What can we do? I think one of the biggest challenges we face in Nigeria today is a lack of political will, to effect and to do what is right. Everybody knows what is right, but we have just refused to do it. If we do not deregulate, it's very simple. We continue to experience petrol shortages. It's as simple as that. Right? And what government just needs to do, just the same way that we did with diesel and aviation fuel, and heaven did not fall. What government needs to do is to take advantage of the low price of crude oil that we have now and deregulate. Like I've said in one of my answers to the first question, currently, there is no subsidy on the price of petrol. Rather, when you buy petrol at the pump, at the filling station, you're actually subsidizing government, because the price people should be paying should be much lower than what government is currently charging as the recommended retail price of 121 naira 50 kobo. So you and I are actually subsidizing government, right? And so one thing about allowing market forces to determine the price of an item is that that item becomes easily available. There is competition, and the prices will rise and fall based on the dictates of the market. Now, in terms of what is happening with our neighboring countries, it's as simple as that. Government didn't have any choice but to close the border, because people are just taking petrol out of Nigeria to Benin to sell at a price, right? And the only way we can stop that practice is for us to deregulate the price of petrol. Now, with respect to Dangote, Dangote will be a game changer. In the sense that if we have a Nigerian company refining petroleum products, it's going to reduce close to about $10 billion that Nigerians spend to import petrol. And then we can use that foreign exchange that is conserved, for other purposes. And obviously, with a Nigerian company going into refining, what that means also is that government will not have any choice but to deregulate the price.
Right.
Otherwise, it will not be a profitable investment for Dangote. Okay. And what that does is that it's going to bring in new investors into the market, and the price will fall.
All right, let me go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us. We still have with us the head Tax, Oil and Gas KPMG Advisory, Mr. WALE Ajayi. All right, before the break, he was still answering, but concerning this issue of the refineries, Mr. WALE, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
So if we have so many refineries that was constructed by the government of Nigeria. Now, at the point where the marketers begin to bring in the fuel and then determine the prices and PPPRA still regulates, what would happen to our own refineries? Because we are all now dependent on Dangote's refinery. What do you think would happen to ours? Can it be sold to Dangote or to somebody to revive it? Or do you think it's just going to become moribund?
Thank you so much for that question. I mean, currently there are 4 refineries in Nigeria, and the installed capacity of those refineries is about 445,000 barrels of oil per day. But what do we have? 90% of the petrol that we consumed in Nigeria today is imported. So what that means is that those refineries are not doing anything. As you're aware, we spent so much money to rehabilitate those refineries by way of turnaround maintenance. And currently, what the NNPC is trying to do with those refineries is to try also and rehabilitate them and get third parties to maintain them, so by way of concession. So the best thing we can do is what the NNPC wants to do now. Is just basically transfer the maintenance and the operation of those refineries to private sector. Okay. Private sector can get them done correctly. Right. That's the best we can do until Dangote refinery come on stream in 2021.
All right. Yeah, so with this new policy now, that's the deregulation, we're going to just have the PPPRA just advising on a monthly basis, like you rightly mentioned. Do you think it's, what does that advice entail, one? And do you think that agency is necessary right now? Should they just have independent consultants to handle this as a way of COVID-19? We're trying to cut down costs.
Thank you. If you look at the act that set up the PPPRA, one of the primary functions really is to help advise government on the prices of petroleum products. And so when they say they're going to be advising, what that actually means is that they're going to be dictating. So if you notice at the beginning of this month, June, they had prescribed that the price of a liter of PMS, which is petrol, is going to be 121 naira 50 kobo. And what that does is that the oil marketers don't really have any choice but to apply that particular price. So it's not just advising, yes, it's basically dictating what the price of PPPRA is. And the day they stop being involved in the price of, determining the price of petroleum products, then it questions the relevance of that agency, right? And of course, they can still be involved in monitoring and ensuring that whatever is imported into Nigeria, it stays in Nigeria, but really the relevance will be questioned. So it's not giving a piece of advice, but they're actually dictating. Right. And once they stop giving advice, then that is the end of that particular agency, because the market will determine what the price will be and will determine the demand and supply.
Right.
So I wanted to ask a quick question concerning modular refineries. So we've heard, I think it was even signed that modular refineries is small to serve small locations. What's the impact of modular refineries in making petroleum products available everywhere?
Well, the whole idea is actually to ensure that supply can be guaranteed easily. Now, the whole essence of modular refineries, these are just small refineries that are prefab, sort of a prefab. You can move from one place to another place, and then they can serve for the local community in those areas. There were so many licenses that were given out then, but currently there are only 2 that are functional. And what we see is that if, as long as the price of PMS or another product is regulated, we're going to have not too much investment in that area. And that is why you only have 2 that are functional now. So we have to deregulate the price of PMS, just like we've done with other products, and that will make it attractive, for other investors that want to go into modular refinery. But currently, there are about two of them that are functional, out of so many licenses that have been given out.
We have to wrap up now. But is it possible? Do you see us paying below 100 naira per liter in future, as this is as we hand over to the marketers?
Well, I mean, we have not deregulated, like I've rightly said. What we've done is basically we have just modulated the price. And if you look at the template that PPPRA has prepared itself, and you look at the components that make up the price of petrol, what you find out is that crude oil is the biggest component. And even as at now, the price of petrol should be less than 80 naira per liter, based on the current cost of crude oil, right? So do I see price coming down to $80? Yes, I see, if and only if we deregulate. And what that means, of course, is that if the price of crude oil goes up, the price will also go up. But that is very easy for one to manage, because you know that when the price goes up, what you pay for petrol will go up. And what that does is that it's going to reduce smuggling significantly.
Right.
So the only way, we really don't have alternative in this country. We just have to deregulate.
Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. We appreciate your thoughts this morning. We've been speaking to the head and Tax, Oil and Gas KPMG Advisory, Mr. WALE AJAYI. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. We have to wrap up, but before I go, I must thank our Group CEO of Mandela. She sent us gifts.
Thank you so much.
They buy your Doherty. Thank you so much. Send the ladies of your views.
Thank
really
you
nice
so
gifts.
much.
Thank you very much, Madam.
Group CEO Mandela.
Yes, she's such a bright person to meet. You know, very full of energy.
Okay, I'm not met the person.
Yeah, but let's go. Let's wrap up today. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a fabulous day. Bye for now.
You can watch Your View on TVC every Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Nigerian time on DSTV channel 418, GOTV channel 27 and channel 47, StarTimes channel 121 and channel 307, Play TV channel 801 and channel 190, UHF 49, Sky channel 515 for UK viewers. Watch live on Facebook at TVC Connect and on our website tvcentertainment.tv/livestream.